Jay here for Full Time Devils, and this is your United Daily Update. Now, the big news, or the latest news about United, is Massimiliano Allegri, the ex-Juventus and AC Milan boss, who has been linked with United over the past few weeks, especially when things haven't been going too well on the pitch. But the latest reports coming out of Italy are that he's very close to agreeing a deal to come to United. Now, I think it was Tutto Sport who have been reporting this. They've been reporting this for a little while, but the latest news is that he's very close to agreeing a deal worth £6.5 million a year to take over from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, how true that is, we don't know. He has been linked with United. It seems to be a move that, if United were to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, kind of makes sense. Allegri, well respected, he's 52 years old, he's managed at Juventus and Milan, obviously two massive clubs. So you would think he would be able to come to a club like Manchester United and hold his own, and he's a different sort of manager from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if the club did want to move in another way. Now, this is a lot of rumours and stories, and it's coming out of Italy with nothing concrete coming out of the English press, really. A lot of the reports, we're seeing it in the Daily Mail, the Express, papers like that, who are sort of jumping on the back of what's been coming out of Italy. So there's a lot of stories here, there's a lot of newspapers reporting it, but it all seems to be stemming from the same sort of sources over in Italy, who are claiming that the ex-Juve boss, Allegri, has had talks with United, and that those talks have been pretty solid, and that there's a deal in place for a £6.5 million a year contract. We have to wait and see what happens with this. It could all be conjecture. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could see United beat Liverpool on Sunday, fingers crossed, and the rumours of him leaving could all die down. But unfortunately, because of where United are at the minute, we are going to get a lot of stories about Ole leaving. We are going to get a lot of stories about who's going to be the man to replace him. And at the minute, Allegri seems to be the top of many people's list. Now, it's not just Allegri that's been linked with United as part of this. There's talk of him coming and bringing Mario Mandzukic with him, sort of a player that he knows from his time at Juve, a player that's already been linked with Manchester United. There's even talk of Patrice Evra coming and joining the backroom staff as part of Allegri's team, because Evra works with Allegri at Juve, or was a player for Allegri at Juve, so there's some sort of connection there. Obviously, Evra has been doing his coaching badges recently. He's been at Old Trafford, loves the club, knows the club. So the papers are reporting this could be some sort of, almost like, I wouldn't say a dream ticket, because I don't think it's really quite a dream to have Allegri at United for many United fans, but that's the sort of deal that's being mooted of Mandzukic coming, of Allegri coming, of Evra coming on the coaching staff, and also Emre Can, who used to play for Liverpool, of course, coming as well as a player that he can bring with him. I'm not too sure about that one. I don't really know if we want Emre Can. I know we need a midfielder, we need some players. I don't know if he's the answer. Again, it's a lot more of these sort of rumours and stories that it sort of snowballs. It starts with Allegri, and then it becomes Allegri and Evra, then it becomes Allegri, Evra and Mandzukic, then it becomes Allegri, Evra, Mandzukic and Emre Can. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this one. But this is sort of gathering a little bit of momentum, and we know that if we don't get a result on Sunday, or if we don't get a result against Liverpool and then Norwich, the pressure's going to be mounted on Ole, and people are going to be looking at who the next manager could be. And Allegri is a manager that seems to fit the bill for a lot of people. I mean, he's had quite a lot of success in Italy. I think he won 5 titles with Juventus. He won 1 with AC Milan. The sort of, I wouldn't say downside, the question marks over him in Italy, in the Champions League, sorry. I think he's finished runners-up with Juve a couple of times. No shame in that. I think he lost to a very good Barcelona team. But there are question marks of whether he's the right man for the job. A few people that sort of watch Italian football that know Allegri and know the job as well at United think that it's a bit wishful thinking to think he could just take over from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and replicate the success that he had at Juventus with the players he's got at Manchester United. And of course, you know, he doesn't know the Premier League. He hasn't managed in England before, and he'd be coming into a Manchester United team that needs a lot of strengthening. And I don't know if Mario Mandzukic and Emre Can are enough. If he were to come in, I don't know if that would be enough for him to come in, bring those two in as well, and whether that would do the trick. I think it could take a lot more than that. I'm just going to have a look at the comments. A lot of people saying this is fake news, this isn't happening. Stick with Ole. Personally, I think we should stick with Ole. I've been saying that for months, even when we've had some recent bad results against Newcastle, West Ham and all the rest of it. I do think it's time that we sort of back to manager properly. I don't think the signings were made in the summer transfer window, although they were good signings and arguably have been our best players this season, were enough. We obviously need midfielders, we need strikers. To let Lukaku go, to let Sanchez go, we needed to strengthen, and we haven't done that. And I don't know, I think bringing Allegri in now, without really backing him properly, or without having backed Ole properly, it just doesn't make sense to me. I think I've always said, you know, give Ole time, give him a few transfer windows. This is a work in progress. It's gonna take more than one transfer window. I mean, let's not forget, Ole barely spent any money if you look at what he brought in and what he spent out. He spent money out on Maguire and on Wan-Bissaka and on Daniel James, but we got a lot of money for Romelu Lukaku. Alexis Sanchez's wages were massive. They went out the window as well, obviously. Chris Smalling left. So he got a few players. He got rid of a few players. Now, people said he got rid of the deadwood. I don't know if he did get rid of the deadwood. I think you could argue they weren't up to scratch or whatever, but there was a lot of goals that he took out of that team, and we haven't replaced him. And that's what worries me. And I think now to bring in another manager, especially if you're going to say, right, we're going to bring in Allegri, and as a striker, we're going to bring in Mandzukic. Now, I quite like Mandzukic. I think he's the sort of player that he's a bit of a bastard, but I don't mind that. He's the sort of player you can get behind, but he's not prolific. And I don't see him coming at 33 years old to Manchester United and banging in 15 goals, you know, between, say, he comes in January, obviously, to the end of the season. You know, he might get you 4 or 5 goals, he might get you some important goals, but he's not prolific at all. He's not going to suddenly come in and replace Romelu Lukaku's goals by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know if that's enough. And Emre Can as well. Liverpool basically let him go. I know there's that, you could argue that whether he wanted to stay and all the rest of it, but he left and then they got to 2 Champions League finals. It's not like they missed him. So I don't know. It smacks a little bit of paper talk, this one, to me. Although, if things do continue to go wrong for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, then someone like Massimiliano Allegri does make a little bit of sense. Let's have a look at some of the comments here. James Joyce says, not sure that's his real name, not sure about Allegri, but Ole needs to go. There's a few people saying this. I don't know if James is a United fan, but I don't think that people are turning against Ole, but there are more and more people questioning him. I think especially on social media, especially online. We've seen it in the comments when we've done the podcast, when we've done the updates and the watch-alongs and all that other stuff that we do. A lot more people seem to be in the chat saying, is Ole the right man for the job? But as I said earlier, I think you've just got to try and give him some time and give him some signings. Yes, we've strengthened the defence and brought in Dan James as a sort of an attacking player, but you need more than that. When you look at the quality of the other teams, not just the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool, but when you go a little bit further down, we played Leicester not long ago, and I can't remember going into a game with Leicester where so many of the Leicester team will get into the United team. Even when they won the league, I still felt player for player on our day, we arguably had a stronger 11. But now you think about it, there's probably like 5 or 6 players from Leicester's team who get into our team, so it's no wonder they're above us in the table. Someone else here, Nadir, is saying, I'd prefer Ancelotti. Amol says, why not Wenger for, say, 2 years? That's been sort of rumoured, hasn't it, saying that Arsene Wenger could come in. No, just no. Listen, Arsenal got rid of him for a reason. I don't care what anyone says. He didn't leave because he'd decided now's the time to move on. They'd had enough of him, and it was like, you've got to go. So coming from that, after he'd been there for so many years and it'd all gone sour and the wheels had come off, so coming into arguably the weakest Manchester United squad in the Premier League history isn't a good move for me for Arsene Wenger. It doesn't make sense at all. I think that just adds to the air of comedy that's been engulfing Manchester United recently, which is, we don't need any more of that. Someone else here, Siva Rogers, saying, Woodward sacked in my dream. Woodward out. Bubba is saying, listen, I've been saying for years that Ed Woodward's got to go. Don't think he will. Think the Glazers are happy with him because he makes the money. But the fact that he's involved in the football making decisions is shocking. I think you look at the managers we've had, you have to look at why they've not been able to have success. Louis van Gaal had lots of success. Came to United, didn't have any. Jose Mourinho had lots. Oh no, Louis won the FA Cup, but he didn't challenge for the title. Jose Mourinho won titles everywhere he went. Come to United, we finished second, 19 points behind City. Not really a title challenge. So what is it? Ole comes in, has this great run, but then the wheels come off. Why is it? Why can't any of these managers have success? What's the common denominator? I think you've got to look at the executive vice chairman or whatever he calls himself. He's the problem. He's the one that's suddenly vetoing or agreeing, approving transfer deals. And he's not a football man. He's an investment banker. And he's right-hand man, I think. Is it Judge? He's another man who comes from the banking world. So you've got 2 guys there that have got no football experience who are making football decisions for Manchester United. It's absolutely bonkers. And I think if Allegri comes in and you've still got Ed Woodward pulling the strings, you're still going to have the same problems. You need to bring in someone to oversee the transfers, to oversee all that, who knows about football. Whether that is a technical director, whether that is a director of football, I don't know, but someone who at least knows about football. We were talking earlier about how Patrice Evra has been rumoured to be part of this package with Allegri. Evra at one point was linked with United as director of football. I don't know if that makes any sense. Even Darren Fletcher and Rio Ferdinand have been linked with the job, but they haven't really got any director of football experience. I'd rather have them than Ed Woodward making decisions, but you'd like to see someone come in as director of football, if we do go down that route, who can... who's done that job before, who's got experience of making transfer deals, who knows the connections, knows what to do about that sort of thing when you want to make a deal happen, rather than someone who's learning on the job. It feels a lot like at United, we're learning on the job. The executive vice chairman was learning on the job. Then we had, Ole in many ways, he's almost learning on the job. Yes, he's managed at Mulder and he managed at Cardiff, but United is a different story altogether, being a manager of Manchester United, and he's had to learn quite a lot. I'm just going to get into the comments before we wrap up. Roy Keane said these players threw Mourinho under the bus and they will do the same to Ole, says Dean Wright. Yeah, Roy Keane's not been happy with his squad for quite some time. You can see some of his points. Some of it I think he goes a little bit too far with, but I do agree with some of the points you think, well, why aren't some of these players playing as well as they can be? But you have to look at the manager and the system as well. And also, some of the players we've lost, we haven't replaced them. Robert Gergis, says, I really hope not Allegri. Someone else says, as a Juve fan, expect a manager that is tactically astute and passionate, but above all, his comedy press conferences. Do we really need any more comedy at Manchester United? We're sort of becoming a bit of a parody club, aren't we? We need people best in class at every position, says Amol. We do. If Ole wasn't next player, you'd all be calling for his head. Simple. I don't just think it is just that. Yeah, Ole's obviously got a lot of credit in the bank with Manchester United fans because he's an ex-player, because he's a legend. But I think it's more than that. I think we're just sick of seeing managers coming and going every other season. Or, David Moyes lasted, 9 months? Ole's been in the job for about the same now. Jose lasted, was it 2 and a bit seasons? Van Gaal 2 seasons. Giggs 4 games. I know he's only caretaker. We need to sort of stop doing this. We need to call a halt to this merry-go-round of managers and back a manager over a period of time. And where Manchester United are at the minute, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take at least 3 or 4 transfer windows until we're challenging for the title, in my humble opinion. Someone else is saying Simeone in. Can't see that happening. I like Diego Simeone, but I don't think he's coming to Manchester United anytime soon. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Do get involved in the comments as you have done. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to share, and all that other good stuff. We've got lots of previews and other videos coming up ahead of the Liverpool game. The big story, obviously, today is that Massimiliano Allegri has been linked with Manchester United, apparently having talks with the club. We'll see if there's any truth to that. But hopefully, we'll beat Liverpool on Sunday. There'll be no more pressure on it. That'll be the end of that one. Thanks for watching.